how do you deal with poor performers and how do you communicate negative feedback? Welcome everyone to another mock interview session with Exponent. Today we're here with Sagar. Sagar, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hello, Nima. Thanks for taking the time. My name is Sagar. I am currently an engineering manager with Amazon. I have been with the company for a little over 5 years. In my past life, I was a software engineer, and then I have an MBA, and I've been a senior TPM. And in my current role, I'm an engineering manager. I work with a lot of software engineers and data engineers. And one of my passions is helping engineers get to the next level, improve their performance. I participate in a lot of interviews. I provide feedback. I'm genuinely interested in helping people succeed. So yes, I'm looking forward to this session with you, Nima.
Thanks so much for being with us here today, Sagar. Our mock interview today is for engineering management. And my first question to you is how do you deal with poor performers and how do you communicate negative feedback?
Okay, that's a great question. It's a little uncomfortable, to be honest, because this is not something that we would want to encounter on a regular basis, but it is the reality. So to be honest, there is no easy answer, but performance is usually an ongoing discussion. So performance is not something that should come as a surprise to someone where they work for 6 months or 1 year and one day they're pulled into a room and being told that, hey, your performance is not good, which is not the best strategy. So performance is usually an ongoing one-on-one, and this one-on-ones are usually dialogues that go both ways, where I provide ongoing feedback to the person, and I also solicit feedback for things I as a manager could do better. So it's a way to build trust and to be genuinely interested in the process of in understanding what's going on in the team. So and then to specifically deal with poor performers, and your question was how would you communicate negative feedback. So the first thing is to identify the reason for the root cause. Is it
Mhm.
because this particular individual is lacking a specific technical knowledge? Are there gaps in their technical knowledge? Or is it because their motivation has been dwindling lately, someone who's been good, but for some reason their motivation is going down? Or is it because of other functional reasons? So depending on these reasons, it would be better to, like I said, have this ongoing discussion. But if you suddenly see something that's not going well, then engineers usually do not prefer to hear anything sugar coated, beating around the bush. So be direct, be genuine with them, tell them, hey, I've been observing off late that it's been happening this way. Is there
Mhm.
anything that's bothering you? I wouldn't take the approach of blaming them, saying, hey, your performance is poor, do this to fix it, rather than just trying to understand where it's coming from, and then trying to understand what the root cause is. Maybe they're going through something personal, or maybe there's something that's going on beyond what I could I would know in the team. So it
Mm.
could be whatever. So trying to understand the reason, and then seeing and then communicating, okay, that how we could proceed would be my strategy to communicate that feedback to the individual.
Got it. And what if they spike in some areas but fall short in others? How do you approach that?
Okay, that's a great question. So it is not necessarily a bad thing for someone to spike in one area and fall short in other, because inherently people have different strengths. And when people with different strengths come together is when the team is going to be, strong overall. So I would try to understand like where their strengths are. So for instance, an engineer could be super strong with programming, like know everything about programming, engineering, software development, but when we put them in front of customers, interacting with customers, making presentations may not be their biggest strength.
Mm.
But that doesn't mean they're a poor performer, because it is something that they're either not used to or they're not comfortable. So one of the things I see is, if people are lacking in certain areas, I would push them to slightly push them to go out of their comfort zone, because that is where you can learn and improve. So that is something I help them understand, that if we all try to have these, well-rounded 360 degrees good personality to be successful in general. So if
Mm.
someone is falling short in certain areas, I would help them understand that, hey, you're really strong in this area. Do you want to, do you need an opportunity to participate in these other areas? Like, even going back to the customer presentation example, I would be like, hey, there's a presentation coming up, do you want to give it a shot this time? They
Yeah.
might feel uncomfortable, but in the end, I've seen that people usually find that rewarding. And a lot of times they might have that strength, but it is just not uncovered unless you put them on the spot and give them that chance. So that's how I would deal with the individuals.
Got it. So in your first answer, you mentioned that performance is an ongoing thing, right? You have your one-on-ones with people and you identify problems as they arise. How do you identify these problems? What are the markers for you that something is possibly amiss?
Okay, that's a great question. So the way to identify a problem, at least in my experience, has been it could come from different directions. So first thing at a high level is this an isolated incident, or is this something that's impacting the entire team? So
Mm-hmm.
that's the basic premise I would try to understand. So if it is isolated, then the usual hints come from either the other team members would be inconvenienced, or their work would be impacted as a result of someone not performing poorly, because we all work in collaborative environments, and if one person is not performing well, then it could impact the performance of others and the project itself.
Mm-hmm.
There could sometimes be customer concerns where the customer is not satisfied with our service or products, or they're not getting the necessary support that they need from us.
Mm-hmm.
Or in general, it would be from observing people that hey, their participation has come down in general, or they're not being participating actively in meetings, they're not speaking
Mm.
up in stand-ups. So these are certain hints at an individual level. If I notice, then I would that's how I would identify if it's an individual issue. If it's a bigger issue, then I need to see a pattern that multiple team members raising the same concerns. Is it something with the environment itself? Is it something with the leadership? Because it's not always the engineer's fault. So I would always take it upon me to understand, okay, where is this coming from? There has to be a reason, because they're all really smart people. And if there's a problem, then I'm going to introspect within myself. Is this something that I'm not doing well? Is it something that's changed within the environment? Is it something to do with the
Mm.
senior leadership? Is it something to do with anything that's impacting the culture? So just understanding that and seeing if it's isolated or a team wide issue, and then treating it accordingly would be my course of action.
Okay. And then so on those lines, what strategies do you use to fix the situation?
Sure. Honestly, there isn't a standard fix per
Mm-hmm.
se. It all depends on situation to situation. So the general approach is to listen to individuals and genuinely be interested in their concerns. So that is winning half the battle, because when we listen, it's a lot of times people feel very comfortable speaking, and if you provide that space for them to speak their concerns and what is bothering them, and genuinely take interest, and not stop there, but follow up on their concerns and take action and show that you have taken action to help them with their concerns.
Mm.
So this would help at least close that gap, so they would feel that they're being heard, and that I'm doing what I can in my capacity uh, to help them get out of the situation they are in. So to give you maybe a couple of specific examples, I would say, let's say someone is just not performing well because they've been doing the same thing for like several years on being on the
Mm.
same team. So that they might be good at that, but usually their motivation dwindles because they're just so bored of doing that. So then it's on me to find them another piece of interesting work and then set them up for success that way. And then I've always seen that the performance drastically improves, because now they have an opportunity to work on something new.
Mm.
So another case, maybe someone is going through something personal that they are not comfortable sharing. But in that case, I would say, okay, now you can spend time, take some time off. Sometimes encouraging people to just take time off and not work is going to help them, recover and get back into the right frame of mind, and then following up with them to later accommodate them back into the work. So these are different strategies based on the individual and their needs. And sometimes the last thing I would like to close with is, if that's an issue at a team level, which is maybe beyond me, then it's on me to take it up and provide feedback to someone who's above me, and then get that rectified. So it goes both ways. It goes pretty much always, with the engineers, with myself, and like people above me, and so it's a complete package. So that's how I would approach this situation.
Thank you so much, Sagar. This was really insightful, and I hope this helps with your future interviews.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Nima. This you definitely made me think about this. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Great questions.
Thanks, everyone.